Let's now move on to our fourth main topic today. Chris, what is our fourth main topic today?
This one is from Jordan Marshall. Hey, John, with there being a Spider-Man Tom Holland already in the MCU, could Sony, after their deal, renegotiate the deal with Disney to not only keep Tom in the MCU, but at the same time make a new deal that allows them to have their own live-action Spidey in the Venom Sonyverse? Thanks and have a great day. So do you think we could do one of your favorite things, parallel universes, time travel, something, more Spider-Man?
All right, so this is something that's came up a lot, especially since once it became public that the Sony-Disney deal fell apart and everybody started talking, well, could both of them do it and blah, blah, blah. And then now everything is kumbaya again, and we're going to have at least 2 more movies with Spider-Man in the MCU, 1 standalone Spider-Man movie, 1 other MCU movie. And then I think that's going to be it. They may extend it out after that, but I think they're aiming towards that being it. But who knows? That's a discussion for another time. The question about, could both Disney have Spider-Man and Sony have their own Spider-Man at the same time, and different variations of it. Well, what if Sony let, Marvel and have Miles Morales, and Sony's verse have Peter Parker, or vice versa, or whatever? That's a question that's been around for the long time. And for the longest time, what the answer to that is that stupid. You could not possibly, there's no way Disney would want to have live-action Spider-Man while another studio is also making live-action Spider-Man. If you want to talk about things that could cause confusion with audiences and stuff like that, and listen, if Sony makes a crappy Spider-Man movie, like if instead of making, Spider-Man 2, they make The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and will that negatively impact these are things you got to be worried about. These are things they would, so no, the answer to that has always been no, Rob. It's always been no. But is it no now? We're living in, look, and let me be clear about this before I say anything else. I still believe that idea of 2 different, completely separate live-action Spider-Mans, one in one studio's universe, one in another studio's universe, I do not believe that will ever happen. I do not believe it should happen, and I don't think it's what they're going to do. But that said, in this new reality, where now Disney and Sony both have an increased awareness of Spider-Man's value, in this new reality where they're making deals where it looks like there weren't deals being able to be made before, while I still don't believe they should ever do something like this, nor do I think they will, Rob, I simply at this point as a fan can't say it's impossible. And I would have said that before. I have said that before. But now as the sands in the desert shift, we have new landscapes, and in this new landscape, I don't know that it's an impossibility. I don't know that this is something that absolutely never could happen. It absolutely shouldn't. It would be a mistake on both their parts, and I think they both know that. But we're living in a world where cats and dogs are hanging out together and crazy things are happening. I just can't say as a fan anymore that it's the most impossible thing. I still think it's the dumbest thing, but it ain't impossible. While I would have said before it's a 0% chance, absolute goose egg, I couldn't argue with you if you were to come to me and say you think there's like a 12% chance. I would go, there actually might be. I don't know, Rob. In this crazy world that's gone mad, where we used to think life was a comedy or a tragedy, now we're thinking it's a comedy. What do you think is could we see a potential future here where we have 2 studios each doing live action Spider-Man at the same time? What do you think?
Well, as you so eloquently pointed out, I live in a household with dogs and a cat living together, and it is mass hysteria, and you never know what's going to happen from day to day. But here's the thing. I absolutely could see a world where you have a live action Miles Morales film over at Sony, and you have the Tom Holland live action Spider-Man movie for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The only thing is that what happens when Sony's Miles Morales movie underperforms compared to the MCU film? Everybody's going to be beholden. It's always about money. And if they think those movies could work maybe on alternating years, which, by the way, I could see that, John. I would love to see live action Miles Morales movies over at Sony, because we know there's a multiverse already. They're animated. I mean, you could even have the animated Miles Morales get pulled through some space warp and become live action. That could be how the movie begins. I mean, there's craziness, and people will buy into it if it's good. People will go see anything if the characters are great and the story is great and it's well executed. That's what people want. And if they can do that, why not? Why not do it?
I think there's a couple of reasons for not doing that.
But it's all about money.
Well, I mean, it is all about money. But number one, let's say you're, oh my God, what the embarrassment. What happens if Sony and Disney put out a live-action Spider-Man movie in the same year? And, oh my God, Sony's was better. Sony's was better.
Yeah.
Do you think Bob Iger or Kevin Feige or anybody over at Marvel, and by the way, Marvel has never made a Spider-Man movie as good as the best Sony Spider-Man movies. Just saying, Marvel's never made a Spider-Man movie as good as Spider-Man 2. They've never made a Spider-Man movie as good as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Sony has made the best Spider-Man movies. Of course, that's subjective, that's open to interpretation. But from my point of view, they've never come close. So, can you do that? Can you risk, or the other way around? If you're Sony, can you risk putting out Spider-Man movies in the same, like within 6 or 7 months of each other? How humiliating is that to your studio if you both put out live-action Spider-Man movies and all everybody's talking about is Marvel's was better? Marvel's was better. I mean, it just seems like, so many bad things could happen there, Rob.
It's like 1983 when you got Sean Connery and Never Say Never Again, and you got Roger Moore and
I knew you were going to go there.
You know who wins? We all win. Although the score of Never Say Never Again, no one won. Michel Legrand's score. But I look, yes, it could be embarrassing, and it certainly would be embarrassing. And I do think there would actually be maybe a healthy sense of competition if that ever happened, to see whose movie would be better. And maybe in the long run, audiences would win. But there's going to be one of those movies, they're not going to make the exact same dollar amount at the box office. One would outgross the other. And I always believe in healthy competition, but do shareholders? And I mean, I can't even imagine what kind of deal points would that be? How long would it take to hammer that stuff out?
And who's to say one would be Miles Morales, one would be Peter? What they're both doing, Peter Parker?
Yeah, well, they're both.
Or they're both. I mean, it's just I just think. Look, there's a reason we don't have Batman in Paramount movies and Warner Brother movies and whatever. There's a reason we don't have James Bond.
But
it just doesn't seem like a good idea.
John, if it was more like a Matrix 2 and 3 or Back to the Future 2 and 3 or even a Lord of the Rings situation where it could be a big story, and so you have part 1 and a part 2. And one is in the MCU, and then maybe part 2 brings in Venom or Morbius.
Now you're going in a whole new direction where it's not just different studios using the same character. Now you're talking about them crossing over storylines, which I think Kevin Feige has been pretty firm that he doesn't want to do.
No, I know, but it could. I mean,
but listen, but at the same time, we're living in an environment now that I think anything is possible.
My dog's like my cat.
I don't like your cat. But we're living in an environment now where anything is possible. Things we would have said were impossible when reality was a certain way. Reality has changed just in the last couple of months. And I don't think we can look in the mirror and say that won't ever happen. We just can't say that now. I still don't think it will. I still don't think it should. But I am not going to choke, on my morning milkshake, and if I open up my newsreader and see that Disney and Sony are both going to do live action, I'm not going to fall over in shock anymore, because it's just a different thing. Guys, what do you think? Do you think we could be living in a world right now where in the next couple of years we could literally see both Marvel and Sony doing live action Spider-Man movies at the same time? Or do you think cooler heads will prevail and they won't be idiots and won't do such a thing? I'm not sure that they won't. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure that they're not going to do it. What do you guys think? Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.